In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the for-in loop in JavaScript. We talked about the for loop before, and that was pretty simple, but I wanted to wait till we had a good understanding of arrays before we looked at the for-in loop. So basically what we have here, we have some HTML at the top, and you should be familiar with this stuff. I also recommend you view this in 720p resolution and full screen because the text is going to be a bit smaller. We have a title tag, we have a form here, the form has a name, we have our text input here, it has an ID, it has a value, and we have a submit here. Okay, let's take a look at the loop. So basically we're writing out a header here, and the for-in loop looks like this. We have for keyword, then we have parentheses here, and in the left hand side this should be a variable, or it should be a property in the object, or it should be an element of an array in object. Okay, this for-in is for looping through an object, and the window is an object. It's the top level object in the browser. So basically what we're doing is for whatever properties exist in the window object, we're going to write them out. And we're starting out with a string window dot, and then we're going to concatenate on the property's name, and then is equal to window and the property's value. So a property has a name and a value. This is the name, this is the value. So if we put it in square brackets like this, well, now we're accessing the value of it. See what that looks like. Okay, so you can see we got a whole bunch of stuff here. So what I just did was I looped through all of the properties in the window. Actually, we're not looping through everything in the window. Some things, like some methods that belong to the window, they won't be included in this, but we are looping through all the properties of it. And unfortunately, they're not in any alphabetical order. They're all over the place, so we might need to use Control F a bit. So let's just take a look at this. Some stuff we have here. We have some stuff like window.top, and that's an object. What else do we have? Window.status is set to null, there's nothing there. Window.length is the value is 0. And there's all kinds of stuff in here. And we should be able to find, if we do Control F and we type document, well, there's window.document. And that is set to an object. So the document is an object. And we can loop through that too. So please look closely at this, because you definitely want to understand what's going on here. Remember, we have a property is a name and a value. Here's the name, here's the value. Okay, let's look at a bit more. Now let's go to the bottom down here. And we have an HR to separate them. So what are we doing here? Now we're going to loop through the window.document properties. So window is an object, and we loop through all of the things in the window. Well, document is also an object. Okay, it's a, document was a property of the window, but itself is also an object. So we can loop through it. Here we have for prop in window.document, and then same as before, window.document concatenate on the property name, and then equals, and then you can see the square brackets right here, window.document, and then we're accessing the name of that property. Okay, let's take a look. Actually, I'm just going to comment this part. I don't want you to see this just yet. Okay, let's go. So we have our HR here, and looping through window.document properties. Let's resize this stuff. Make this small. Okay. So we can see all of the properties in the document object. All kinds of stuff there. If I do a Control F and type title, window.document.title, title is set to this. This is the value of title. Okay. Alright, let's keep going. So here what I'm just doing is I'm writing out the title. So we have h4 tags, document.title. Okay, this is how we can access the title. Let's take a look at that. Okay, and there's our title and our HR. Okay, right here, now we're going to loop through the document.forms properties. So let's go back up. Let's just do a quick, search for forms. Okay, so document.forms is set to an object. Well, because it's an object, we can loop through it. For prop in document.forms, and this is the same thing we were doing before. Okay, let's loop through it. Alright, so this is what's inside document.forms right now. We have this 0, so this is going to be the first form element. That's set to an object. And then some other stuff, and some of these properties are set to functions. We're not going to worry about that. Alright, next up. Here we're writing out, let's see what we're doing here. Document forms, and then the 0 element of it, we just saw that. Okay, it's set to an object. Okay, right now we're looking at this right here. We're just looking a bit closer at it. Document forms, okay, 0, is we're checking the type of it, and then I want to know whether this is an array or not. This was actually just for my own curiosity, but let's check it out. And whether or not it's an array or not. Okay, so here I did in brackets. Let's kind of resize this stuff. Okay, so we're checking the type of it, and then we want to know if it's an array or not. We can find out if it's an array or not by doing this document forms, and then the one we're referring to, instance of array. Now, interestingly, before I left these out, and this didn't work. And the reason this didn't work is because it was actually, I don't know what was going on here, but it was concatenating on this stuff right here, and it didn't work. So, but when I put it in parentheses, then it worked. Okay, so that sort of just it just makes sure there's no confusion, nothing's getting concatenated on it, because we have it all encapsulated inside these parentheses. Okay, and then we're doing some more stuff, but whether or not it's an instance of object is, and then we're checking if it's an object. Okay, actually we know it's an object, but we want to know what type of object is it. Is it an array object, or is it just a regular object? So let's go down and check that out. Alright, so document form 0 is an object, and whether or not it's an array or not is false. So it's not an array instance, but whether or not it's an instance of object is true. So it is an object. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Alright, here we are going to loop through this forms 0, so this first form, and we're going to see the properties of it. Okay, let's do that. So here you can see all of the stuff inside this. Let's see if there's anything interesting. The name is the form. So what this is here is it's the form tags. It's not the input, it's the form tags. And we can see the name is the form. Its action is being submitted to right here. That's where it's being submitted to. This was kind of funny when it output the when we got with the value of the inner HTML, it actually, the browser rendered it. So now we have some inputs here. Anything else interesting? Probably not. Okay, let's go to the next thing. What I'm doing here is, let's just make some space. For property in document.forms.attributes. Okay, so let's just find that part. Not this one, I don't think. Let's go to the next one. Right. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm looping through this one right here. This attributes, and this is set to an object, alright? So I want to check it out. Okay, so let's check it out. Reload. Now we're going through all of this attributes properties, and let's see what we can find in here. Alright, so these attributes, we can see that it has 3 attributes here. So this is an object. This is the first property of the object, this is the second property of the object, and the third property of the object. And these, they're also objects. Okay. Let's just, did we run that already? Yeah. Okay. So, next up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write out the forms. This is the first form in it, which is the form tags. And then we're accessing the attributes of it, and this is the first attribute, and we're checking the node name value. Okay, so we should have seen, well, anyways, let's take a look at this. Okay, so in our code, first of all, we output the node name, which was name. We concatenate it on this, and then we output the value. So name equals the form, and this way I looked at the attribute, and we can do the next one. This was the next attribute. Method is set to post, and I think it told us that there was another attribute. So what we can do is we can copy this, and we're going to put on the next one. We'll see if there's another attribute. And there is. Okay, action is set to index.html. Okay. Next up. So here we're going to loop through the document.forms 0 properties. Alright, first of all, we haven't looked at the DOM yet. Let's take a look at the DOM, and let's try to find this. And let's oops, where was I? Okay. Let's resize this stuff. So we're going to document form 0. We're going to inspect with Firebug, and then, so this is Firebug. If you don't have it installed on your Firefox, you definitely should. And we want to click DOM right here. And so we can see we have the window here, the document. Where are we going? Document forms. Well, I've already gone there before, but we could, you know, the reason this is here because I've already looked at it, but let's see how to navigate through the DOM. Window, and then we go down to document. Okay, and document, now we're looking for the forms object. Forms, and then this 0 right here. Okay. Let's do that. Alright, so we're looping through all of this stuff, just taking a look at it. Okay. And what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for input 1. Let's take a look. Right, so it's right at the top. Document forms input 1. So this was the input that I created, and its name, and that's set to an object. Okay, let's keep going. And what I'm writing out here is I'm writing out document forms. That first form, obviously there's one form in it, so the form is 0, which is the first one. Then we're getting the one with the name of input 1, okay, and we're checking the value. Let's look. Okay, some value. If we go back up to my HTML, we saw that this is the first input here, the name, input 1, and the value. So this way we access some value, which was also right here. So we got that. Okay, let's go back down. Here I'm writing out document.forms and the form just to take a look at what it is. And we see that it's an object. So oftentimes you'll want to access the value of your input field. So we saw that this was one way that we could access the value, and it gave us what we wanted. Another way, and maybe a little bit more simpler way, is like this. So we can go document write, and we go in document forms, and we're looking for the form. And this is a name value, and we can see what this looks like inside Firebug. So we go to click on DOM, and then we go to document, and then forms. Okay, that wasn't really necessary, but anyways, inside forms we have this thing called named item, and we can't see too much here, but basically this is I believe this is, you know, the name that we gave it, which is the form. Okay, so we have forms, and we created a name of the form. We can do this, attach that, and then, well, this is our form, and this is the name we gave to the input. We called it input 1, and then we're accessing the value of it. And let's oops, and let's refresh. Some value. Okay, thanks for listening.